Hello everyone, this video will go through the story of Uncharted 1-4. Treasure hunter Nathan Drake, accompanied by reporter Elena Fisher, recovers the coffin of his self-proclaimed ancestor Sir Francis Drake. The coffin contains Sir Francis Drake's diary, which gives the location of El Dorado. Pirates attack and destroy Nate's boat, but Nate's friend and mentor Victor Sullivan rescues the two in his seaplane. Fearing Elena's reporting will attract potential rivals, Nate and Sally abandon her at a dock. Following the diary to the indicated spot, Nate and Sally discover an alcove that once held a large statue and realize that El Dorado is not a city, but rather a golden idol. They find a Nazi U-boat, which contains a page from Drake's diary showing the statue was taken to an island. However, mercenaries led by criminal Gabriel Roman, to whom Sully owes a massive debt, and his lieutenant Atok Navarro intercept Nate and Sully. Sully is seemingly killed by a shot to the chest, but Nate manages to escape, encounters Elena, and flies with her to the island. On the way, anti-aircraft fire forces Elena and Nate to bail out, and they are separated. After retrieving supplies from the wrecked seaplane, Nate heads towards an old fort to find Elena. Briefly captured by pirates led by his old associate Eddie Roger, Elena breaks Nate free and they flee to the island's old custom house. After finding records showing the statue was moved further inland, they find that Sully is alive and accompanying Roman and Roger. Nate and Elena find and rescue Sully, who, having survived due to Drake's diary blocking a bullet, explains he was buying time for Nate by misleading Roman. Searching through the tunnels of a monastery, Nate overhears an argument between Roman, Navarro, and Eddie, revealing that Roman hired Eddie to capture Nate and secure the island, with the reward being a share of El Dorado. Following Nate's escape, Roman doubts Eddie's abilities and ignores his claim that something cursed on the island is killing his men, leading him to dismiss Eddie and his crew. Regrouping, Nate and Elena find a passage leading to a treasure vault, in which they find the body of Drake, assuming that he died searching for the treasure. They encounter terrified Eddie and crew member, shortly before they are attacked by mutated humans who kill the crew member. Despite Nate's effort, Eddie is also killed when Wayne drags him into a pit. Nate and Elena escape and find himself in an abandoned German bunker. Venturing into the base, Nate discovers that Germans had sought a statue during World War II, but like the Spaniards before them, became cursed from the statue, causing them to become mutants. Sir Francis, knowing of the statue's power, attempted to keep it on the island by destroying the ships and flooding the city before he too was killed by the mutants. Nate returns to find Elena has been captured by Roman and Navarro. Regrouping with Sully, he failed to stop them from reaching the statue. Navarro, knowing of the curse, tricks Roman into opening the statue, revealing it to be a sarcophagus containing a mummy infected with the airborne mutagenic virus. Upon Roman turning into one of the mutants, Navarro kills him and takes control of his men, planning to sell the virus as a biological weapon. Nate jumps onto the sarcophagus and rises as it airlifted onto the boat in the bay. He engages and defeats Navarro, and manages to sink both the sarcophagus and him to the bottom of the ocean. Sully arrives, and after Nate and Elena display affection towards each other, they leave the island with several chests of treasure. 2 years later, Nate is approached by former associate Harry Flynn and Flynn's girlfriend, Chloe Fraser, to help steal a Mongolian oil lamp connected to Marco Polo's doomed 1292 voyage from China. The group plans to cheat Flynn's client and takes Polo's treasure for themselves. Unbeknownst to Flynn, Chloe and Nate had worked together before, and Chloe plans on blackmailing Flynn and escaping with Nate and whatever treasure they find. Nate and Flynn break into a museum in Istanbul and find the lamp, which contains a map and a flammable resin that reveals Polo's fleet was shipwrecked in Borneo and was carrying a St. Nami stone from the fabled city of Shambhala. Flynn double-crosses Nate, leaving him to be arrested. 3 months later, Chloe helps free Nate with his longtime friend, Victor Sullivan. She reveals that Flynn is working for Zoran Lazarevich, a Serbian war criminal seeking the stone. In Borneo, Nate and Sally infiltrate Lazarevich's camp, with Chloe as a mole. Nate discovers that the stone never left the Shimbahala and locates a temple containing the bodies of Apollo's crew, as well as a fervor and a map detailing that its carrier will gain passage to Shimbahala through a temple in Nepal. Nate and Sully escape after being cornered by Flynn and his men. Sully backs out, so Nate and Chloe continue to Nepal, which has been ravaged by Lazarevich's mercenaries. They encounter Nate's ex-girlfriend, journalist Elena Fisher, and cameraman Jeff, tracking Lazarevich. At the temple, Nate and Chloe use the fervor to uncover Shimbahala's location in the Himalayas. After Jeff is shot in an ambush, Chloe insists on abandoning him. Nate and Elena help him but are caught by Lazarevich. Chloe switches sides to maintain her cover while Lazarevich kills Jeff and obtains Shimbahala's location from Nate, who escapes with Elena. With Elena's help, Nate catches up to Lazarevich's train. He fights through it to find Chloe, but she refuses to leave with him after he compromised their mission to help Jeff and Elena. Flynn arrives and shoots Nate. Cornered, Nate causes an explosion that derails the train over a cliff. He escapes the hanging train car, recovers the fervor, and falls unconscious. A Tibetan Sherpa, Tenzin, brings Nate to his village. Nate reunites with Elena and is introduced to German explorer Karl Schaefer. Schaefer sends him and Tenzin after the remains of Schaefer's failed expedition for the stone decades ago. Nate and Tenzin travel through ice caves and fight off strange monsters. They discover that Schaefer was working for the Nazi Anunnurbi and killed his men to protect the world from the Sintanami stone. They return to fight off an attack on the village by Lazarevich's men, but Schaefer is kidnapped and the fervor stolen. Elena and Nate follow Lazarevich's convoy to the monastery, where the mortally wounded Schaefer wants Nate to destroy the stone before Lazarevich can obtain its power. After reacquiring the fervor from Chloe, Nate and Elena unlock the secret passage to Shimbahala underneath the monastery, but Lazarevich corners them. With Chloe's cover blown, Lazarevich forces Nate to open the pathway to Shimbahala. The monsters attack, but are killed by Lazarevich, who reveals them as Shimbahala's disguised human guardians. After the gate is opened, Shimbahala's true guardians attack, allowing Nate, Elena, and Chloe to escape. After making their way through the city, the group discovers that the Sintanami stone is a giant amber derived, along with the flammable resin from a sap of an ancient tree of life. The sap gives the drinker inhuman powers, explaining the Guardians and Apollo's doomed crew. Flynn, left for dead by Lazarevich, ambushes them in a suicide attack, seriously wounding Elena. Nate leaves her in Chloe's care and confronts Lazarevich at the base of the tree. Lazarevich drinks the tree sap, becoming nearly invincible. By shooting explosive pockets of resin near Lazarevich, Nate defeats him and leaves him to be killed by the Guardians. As the city crumbles under the collapse of the tree and the exploding resin, Nate and Chloe carry Elena to safety. In a village, Chloe advises Nate to tell Elena that he loves her before bidding him farewell. Sully leaves a recovering Elena to Nate. The couple pays their respects at a memorial for Schaefer and a kiss. 2 years later, Nate and Sully meet with Talbot in London, who is interested in purchasing Nate's ring, inherited from Sir Francis Drake. The duo accuses Talbot for using counterfeit banknotes, and a fight ensues. They are subdued by Talbot's cohort, Charlie Cutter, and Talbot's employer, Catherine Marlowe, steals Drake's ring. Nate and Sully are unharmed as Cutter is an ally working with them. With the help of Chloe Fraser, they trace Marlowe to an underground library. They retrieve a map of Francis Drake's voyage to Arabia, where he was commissioned by Queen Elizabeth I to find the lost city of Uber. Clues to its location lie in Crusader crypts in a French chateau and a Syrian citadel. Nate and Sully locate the chateau and find one half an amulet, but are ambushed by Talbot and his men, who took the amulet and set the chateau on fire. Nate and Sully escape. In Syria, Nate and Sully meet Chloe and Cutter, learning that Marlowe is the head of the same order to which Francis Drake belonged. They find the other amulet half, revealing the next clue in Yemen, but are soon found by Marlowe, Talbot, and their henchmen. As they escape, Cutter breaks his leg, forcing him and Chloe to back out. In Yemen, Nate and Sully reunite with Elena Fisher, who helps them locate a tomb that details location of Uber in the Rabakali Desert. Nate is shot with a hallucinogenic dart and captured by Marlowe and Talbot. Marlowe has accumulated documents concerning Nate's childhood, revealing he adopted the name of Drake, growing up in an orphanage. When Talbot learns of Sully's location, Nate escapes and chases Talbot. He is captured by Ramesses, a pirate working for Marlowe, who interrogates him and claims to have captured Sully. Nate escapes and searches for Sully on a pirate's ship. He discovers that Ramesses lied and inadvertently sinks the ship, which makes Ramesses drown. Nate is washed ashore in Yemen. He learns from Elena that Sully was captured by Marlowe and forced to lead them to Uber. Nate sneaks onto a cargo plane, airdropping supplies to Marlowe's convoy, but is discovered, and a shootout ensues that destroys the plane. He deploys a parachute and lands in the desert. Then he wanders the desert and is rescued by a troop led by Bedouin, Salim. Salim explains that Uber was doomed by King Solomon when he imprisoned a jinn in a vessel and cast it into the city. Salim and Nate attack Marlowe's convoy and rescue Sully. Nate and Sully lose Salim in a sandstorm, but find and enter Uber, where Nate drinks from a fountain. Talbot appears and shoots Sully, seemingly killing him. Nate gives chase and experiences hallucinations. He encounters Sully, his death having been an illusion caused by the water he has drunk from the fountain. Sully realizes that Solomon caused the vessel containing hallucinogenic materials into Uber, tainting the water supply. The vessel is what Queen Elizabeth sent Francis Drake to find, but upon learning the truth, he abandoned his mission and lied to the Queen. Nate and Sully find Marlowe using a winch to recover the vessel from the waters. Nate destroys the winch and a support column, causing the city to collapse. Marlowe and Talbot corner Nate and Sully, but the unstable floor throws Marlowe into a sinkhole. Nate attempts to save her, but Marlowe sinks to her death, taking Drake's ring with her. Nate and Sully fight a hysterical Talbot, who is shot and also falls in a sinkhole. Salim rescues them as the city is engulfed by the desert. Then they return to Yemen. Sully returns Nate's wedding ring, which he has secretly kept safe since Nate and Elena's separation. Elena joins them, and Nate offers his wedding ring. The two embrace, and the three fly home on Sully's new seaplane. 15 years ago, Nate and his brother Sam hunt for the treasure of pirate Henry Avery, who plundered a fortune during the 1695 Gunsway heist. Alongside Rafe, the Drake brothers infiltrate a Panamanian jail to access the former cell of Avery's first mate, where Nate discovers a hollow St. Dismas idol. When the prison warden who aided them demands a cut, Rafe impulsively kills him, triggering a frantic escape. Nate and Rafe successfully escape, but Sam is shot by guards, presumed dead. In the present day, Nate has retired with his wife Elena, but misses the excitement of his old life. He is visited by Sam, who survived the gunshots and has spent intervening time incarcerated. He explains that he escaped with drug lord Hector Alcazar, who demands that Sam find Avery's treasure or be killed. Nate agrees to help Sam, lying to Elena that he has accepted a salvaging job in Malaysia, which he had actually refused. Aided by Sully, the Drakes steal a duplicate Dismas idol from an illegal auction in Italy, bringing them into conflict with South African mercenary boss Nadine Ross and her employer Rafe, who is still searching for Avery's treasure. A map inside the idol leads the Drakes to St. Dismas Cathedral in the Scottish Highlands. There, they discover a hidden temple and a map highlighting Kings Bay in Madagascar. In Kings Bay, the Drakes and Sully learn that Avery, Thomas Tew, and 10 other pirate captains pulled their treasures. Following clues to a tower in the city, Nate uncovers a map to Libertalia, a fabled pirate utopia founded by the other captains. The group returns to the hotel to find Elena waiting, upset at Nate's deception and appearance of Sam, whom Nate had never mentioned. Elena leaves. Nate sends Sully after her. The Drakes follow the map to an island and discover Libertalia. They found evidence of a civil war. The founders stole the city's treasure and moved it across the island to New Devon, an extravagant and well-fortified town built for them. The brothers are cornered by Rafe, who reveals that he released Sam from jail 2 years ago and Sam's Alcazar story is a lie. He actually double-crossed Rafe to resume the search with Nate. Deciding that he needs Sam, Rafe prepares to shoot Nate. Sam shields him, but Nate is knocked off a cliff and falls unconscious. Elena rescues Nate, who reveals his past. As teenagers, he and Sam discover that their mother, a brilliant historian, was researching Libertalia. The boys, after nearly being caught by cops due to breaking into the house of the person associated with their mother, decided to start new lives by changing their surname to Drake to honor their mother's theory about Francis Drake's descendants. In New Devon, Nate and Elena learn that Libertalia descended into conflict over the treasure. Chu and Avery poisoned the other founders and absconded with the Horde, but Chu betrayed Avery. The group rescues Sam and convinces him to escape with them, but soon decides to pursue the treasure. Following Sam's trail, Nate finds Avery's treasure-laden ship in a cave-in. Having collected a large amount of treasure, Nadine refuses to risk more of Avery's traps, but Rafe coerces her by bribing her men. Aboard the ship, Sam triggers a trap, starting a fire and pinning him beneath rubble. Nate confronts Rafe and Nadine in the ship hold, where the skeletons of Avery and Chu lie, having killed each other over the treasure. Nadine betrays Rafe and leaves him with Nate and Sam to die. Rafe challenges Nate to a sword fight. Nate drops a bundle of treasure on Rafe, killing him, and frees Sam. The pair return to Sally's plan and the group escapes. Sam and Nate team up for a new job, while Nate and Elena return home. Elena explained that Sam recovered some of the gold and gave it to her. Realizing that they both need adventure in their lives, she buys the salvage company for which Nate worked, installing Nate as the owner, and plans to revive her old exploration show. Years later, Nate and Elena have become successful salvagers. After their teenage daughter Casey discovers relics from their adventures, Nate decides to tell her their story.